I've come to the conclusion that life is full of rabbit holes, and once you go down one, it can take you places you never imagined. I finally put up the solar panels I bought months before, and they have helped lower my electric bill by using power stations. My hurricane plan was to use batteries to store energy and recharge the power stations using the solar input plug. And then I realized I could use the batteries to extend the runtime of the power stations using that same solar input plug. These are the two types of connectors I use. That has worked out quite well because it allowed me to double the runtime of the power stations without buying an expensive expansion battery. An expansion battery can cost almost as much as the power station itself, while a decent lithium phosphate battery costs around $200 and is good for a crazy number of recharges. The only problem I've encountered is recharging the batteries if I've had to use them. I bought a lithium phosphate charger but didn't have an inverter, so I've had to use the power stations as my inverter to charge the batteries from solar. What I like to do is first charge the power station to 100% and then charge the batteries using pass-through charging. You don't have to have the power station at 100%, but I like to do it that way so the power station is not doing two things at once, which is easier on the power station. And then I found a marine lithium phosphate charger that would allow me to charge two batteries at once. This way, I didn't have to alternate charging the batteries. I just didn't like having the charger sitting on the ground while it charged the batteries. So it was off to the workshop to build a carrier that would allow me to easily move the charger and keep it off the ground. In coming up with a design, I had to allow for airflow because the charger's heat sink is vented in the back. So I wanted a carrier that allowed me to easily move the charger, but also allowed maximum venting in back. I started by test mounting the charger on 2x2s that were 14 inches long and simply needed to measure the inside width to create a frame for the carrier. With all four sides of the frame now complete, I could clamp up the frame and screw it together. I know I complain a lot about pilot holes, but in this case especially I needed to do it because the wood was so narrow and splitting could easily occur. Once the pilot holes were done, I used trim head deck screws that would be small enough to put 2 screws on each corner. And then I sanded all the sides to remove any splinters because I would be handling the carrier and I didn't want to create any war wounds in the process. And I figured as long as I was at it, I would round over all 4 sides to ensure a smooth finish to the touch. That done, I once again placed the charger on the frame to mark where the screws would go to support the charger on the frame. In no time, the charger was attached and was beginning to look like the carrier I had imagined. But I also realized I would have to lay the carrier against something to have it stand upright. So it made sense to make a back brace style kickstand. The back brace was simple enough. I just needed to make a U-shaped brace with scrap wood that was only an inch wide, so it would lay flat against the back when not in use. All that remained was for me to clamp in the brace and drill a hole for the screws that would allow the brace to move back and forth. Once I put in that last screw, I could test out how well the brace would work to keep the charger upright, and I was fairly pleased with the result. I had airflow, the charger was easy to store, and I could grab it and go. All that remained was to test how well it worked while I charged the batteries in the actual setting. I set out the 2 batteries and connected them to the charger. The little kickstand did its job and supported the charger just fine. So there was maximum airflow and the charger was pretty upright. I could move it around wherever I wanted and not have to worry about setting it on the ground. And both batteries were charging just fine. As you can see, I'm getting more input from the solar than I'm using to charge the batteries. And the Caddie has worked out well. But now you understand what I meant about those rabbit holes. I started with solar panels, went to batteries, and the next thing you know, I've built a little Caddie for the charger that I can make again for a lot of other things I might want to grab and go. The adventures are endless. See you next time.